Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about no one is reincarnated. I talked about reincarnation in a video a while ago, and I thought I would revisit the idea, because I still occasionally get people talking about reincarnation and remembering past lives as if it's something important, and it really isn't. It's not important to remember past lives, really. The enlightened don't necessarily remember all their past lives. It's a myth that you're going to remember all your past lives, because there is no you. There is no your past lives. That is the fundamental illusion and delusion we're dealing with here in non-duality. Advaita, Brahman alone exists. There is no other. Fundamentally, in non-duality, there is no other. There is no me. And so the very idea of a me reincarnating from one life to the next is a fallacy. It's wrong. It's part of the illusion. It's not what is. An illusion is fundamentally what is not. A mirage looks like a pool of water. It's not a pool of water. So illusions are fundamentally things that are not. They don't exist. The water doesn't exist in a mirage. I mean, the mirage happens, obviously. The illusion exists, but the illusion of what it is doesn't exist. And reincarnation is an illusion of something that looks like it happens. It's a misunderstanding. And the misunderstanding is there is some me carrying from one life to the next. And then you get these myths that, well, the enlightened person remembers all their past lives. They remember all the me's going back to the beginning. This is bogus. Fundamentally, you realize there is no me. The idea of me shatters. The idea of someone reincarnating shatters. The idea of me that had a past life shatters. All of it goes together. All this is predicated and based upon a fictitious me. And once that fictitious me goes, the rest goes with it. And so there really isn't reincarnation of a me. Now, in reference to the other video, I do say something can move from one lifetime to the next. There are some scars. There is conditioning. There is traits. I mean, if you look at just humans from body to body, the genes pass from one to another. The way you're raised, your conditioning gets passed from one to the next. You're raised much how your parents were raised, and so forth. And so there is a certain amount of conditioning, some scars, tendencies that pass. But those aren't you. What passes from one life to the next isn't you. Even if you believe there is a subtle body, or I hesitate to say soul, because soul makes it sound like something permanent, but a subtle body or something that isn't permanent but transfers from one life to the next. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm just saying that's not you, just like this body isn't you. This body isn't you, and so any subtle body isn't you. And so even if you subscribe to the theory or the belief that there's a subtle body that moves from one life to the next, that could still happen. It just isn't a you. And there's no point in remembering the history of the subtle body. That's like trying to figure out in detail what the history of the physical body is. Do you really need to know? No. Do you really need to know in detail the history of the planet or the universe? No, not really. You don't really need history by and large. And so the whole idea that after enlightenment you somehow have this entire past knowledge is, matter of fact, there are people that are not enlightened that remember past lives, many past lives. So remembering past lives isn't even in the same domain as enlightenment. It's its own thing. It's just another skill or a memory. It's like trying to remember your dreams or learning how to astral project. It's a skill to remember past lives. It doesn't really matter. Because whether you remember a past life or learn how to astral project or remember your dreams, none of that impacts who and what you really are. And in non-duality, the whole thing comes down to realizing who and what you really are. And who and what you really are is not any of that. And so it's all a distraction. And so if you are focused on past lives, well, then you're not really looking at who you really are. Because who you really are isn't that. That's like spending all your time focused on the physical body. Well, I'm going to learn everything about the physical body, ins and outs. And yeah, you could feel you're making some kind of progress in learning more about the body, but you've made no strides in learning who and what you really are, because who and what you are has nothing to do with this body. Same thing applies to past lives or, astral projection or any other myriad of things that we can learn to do that are kind of cool or could be trendy or whatever else. So it's best. That's why I think so many non-duality teachers don't even talk about past lives. It happens. I think many of them realize it happens, that there is something that transfers from one life to the next. There are conditioning, there's tendencies, there's potentially a subtle body, all that could be in play. But they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it because it's a distraction, it confuses people, and people get attached to it. They suddenly go, oh, past lives, and they start thinking it's something important. Past lives aren't important. Past lives are the grave. The grave does not matter. It's the past. Let it go. And so, if you are trying to, realize the truth, you're trying to realize who and what you are, it's best to stay focused on that, which is only here, only now. It's in the present. You need to realize what is right now and not get distracted by past and future. So that's kind of my advice and kind of a rehash of reincarnation, because I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that although I did make one video about reincarnation, I sometimes still get questions about people, they're phrasing the question as if I reincarnate. And I'm like, no, maybe I wasn't clear enough. I did not reincarnate. There was no me. If anything passed from one life to the next, it could be genes, it could be just, it could be, high blood pressure or, a proneness to heart disease or whatever. There are genetic things that pass through family lines. It's like, it's still not you. Whether something passed from somewhere else doesn't matter. And so I didn't reincarnate, although some things pass or could pass. And there could even be a subtle body if you want to believe that. It doesn't really matter. Because if you really want to know who and what you are not any of that. And so focus on that. Anyways, get any questions, comments, please post below. And until next time, thank you much.